Sometimes you just need to take something back for yourself. You make modest sacrifices in your daily life, so when the end of the year comes and the holiday season is upon us, feel free to treat yourself. For most people, that might be a day to spa, or maybe you buy yourself a nice shiny PS5 to put under the tree. But for the life of a masked man who talks about SmackDown and NXT more than he thought he would in his entire life, sometimes the treat you need comes in the form of a list like this. You want me to talk about poker segments and index weddings? I mean, yes, Mr. Davis, I'll do that right away, sir. But this is my end of year treat to myself. Merry Christmas. Dave Meltzer remains one of the most respected figures in wrestling journalism, and while his weekly star ratings have become a bit of a meme in recent years, and very much not something to be taken seriously, they do serve as a pretty decent way to look back at some of the year's best matches. In this list, we will take a look back at every match rated 5 stars or higher by Big Daddy Dave in 2021, and if your favorite match isn't on here, make sure to vent your frustrations in the comments because I'm told Dave loves to frequent the Parts Fun Known comment sections. Merry Christmas! I'm Tempest hailing from Parts Fun Known, and this is every match rated 5 stars or higher in 2021. Do you know what else is a 5-star match? You and Parts Fun Known. What a perfect match that is. You should subscribe so you can get all of those wonderful 5 stars. Did you do it? Please do it. Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. Wrestle Kingdom 15 Day 1. 5.25 stars. New Japan Pro Wrestling makes a habit of starting off each calendar year with at least one 5-star match, and this year they sure started with more than one. Will Ospreay had turned heel on former mentor Kazuchika Okada at the G1 Climax A Block final in 2020, and their major clash came at Wrestle Kingdom 15 Day 1. These two have a history of classic matches together, but now the dynamic was different. No longer a friendly big brother versus little brother match, Ospreay was out to prove that he was better than Okada in every way. As for the most talented in-ring performance in wrestling, you could argue that these are the top two, and they started off the year with one of the year's best matches. Okada had been determined through 2020 to work his stupid money clip submission into his arsenal despite being worse than the Rainmaker in every possible way. But it was in this match that Okada had to go back to what brought him to the dance, winning the match with a huge Rainmaker. All is right in the world. Kota Ibushi versus Tetsuya Naito, Wrestle Kingdom 15 Day 1, 5 stars. There were not two better back-to-back matches in 2021 than the first two matches on this list. Immediately following Okada and Ospreay's clinic, Kota Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito went to the ring with everyone in attendance clutching their pearls. Ibushi and Naito have a history of, well, trying to kill each other, and there was real concern that their match could end in a fatality. Thankfully, there was no such murder at Wrestle Kingdom 15, a maiming perhaps, but no deaths, as Naito and Ibushi had an insane, intense battle befitting of Ibushi's long-awaited title win. Ibushi managed to hit 3 Kamigoyes before finally getting the pin, capturing the title that had eluded him for his entire career. Shingo Takagi versus Jeff Cobb, Wrestle Kingdom 15 Day 2, 5 stars. Boy, those were some great matches. Good job, New Japan. You should rest. Oh, they're back 24 hours later. New Japan may be best known for the technical mastery of their roster, but if you prefer big meaty men bumping meat, then they've got you covered too. The never open weight division has produced so many hard-hitting matches over the years, and in 2021, there are very few that better exemplify that style than Shingo Takagi and Jeff Cobb. The two men are absolute hybrid wrestlers, able to use their size and strength while remaining incredibly quick and agile. This was an absolute classic with moves making you jump out of your chair at every turn, perfectly setting Cobb up for the huge breakout year in the company while giving Takagi his biggest win in the Tokyo Dome to date. Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, Wrestle Kingdom 15 Day 2, 5.25 stars. Damn, New Japan, you got something to prove or what? The road to Wrestle Kingdom 15 was a bit more complicated than most, with Jay White becoming the first man to dethrone the G1 Climax winner and take the Wrestle Kingdom title shot for himself. He did it by being a cheating bastard, but he still did it. This set up the new champ, Kota Ibushi, defending his titles for the first time just 24 hours after winning them against a man he has historically had difficulty beating. To date, this is the longest match in Tokyo Dome history, surpassing the first Omega vs. Okada match and clocking it at a whopping 48 minutes. White was supremely confident, but Ibushi was able to utilize his darker side rather than let it distract him, overcoming White in one of the most epic performances of the year. If you combine this match and the incredible promo that followed it, you have one of the best performances by any wrestler of the entire year from Jay White. On January 5th, 2021, he was the best in the world. Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix, AEW New Year's Smash, 5 stars. Switching over to something not called New Japan Pro Wrestling now, AEW kicked off their 2021 campaign with one of the best matches you could currently put on paper, Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix. Rey Fenix had been forced to miss his semi-final match in the AEW Eliminator Tournament due to injury and was granted a title shot as a result. Omega and Fenix are two of the most dynamic performers in AEW, brimming with explosiveness with nary a wasted motion. This was about a month into Omega's reign as AEW World Champion, so there likely weren't many people out there thinking Fenix was going to dethrone him, but hey, if I'm wrong and you thought that, make sure you send me a DM. I might have a bridge to sell you. This show is better remembered for the AEW debut of the Good Brothers, but this match was a perfect way to start a stellar title run for Omega that would last most of the calendar year. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Shingo Takagi, the new beginning in Nagoya, 5 stars. Back to the land of the rising sun we go. It is no secret that New Japan doesn't quite have the same magic currently that made it the premier wrestling promotion for the 2010s, but that doesn't mean that the in-ring product is any worse, especially when you get the brilliant clashes of styles like with this match between Shingo Takagi and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Tanahashi has been pushed down the card slightly since his days as the ace of the company, but he is still more than a formidable opponent, only now competing for the never openweight title instead. He and Takagi battled at the new beginning in Nagoya in a match that would set up many things to come for both men for the rest of the year. Takagi had yet to truly solidify himself among New Japan's main event scene, but that would not be the case for much longer. Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup Day 8. 5 stars. One of the last matches Will Ospreay had before the start of the pandemic was defeating Zack Sabre Jr. for the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship, a title that he still holds today. That match was 5 stars too. How about that? Almost like these two guys are really f***ing great together or something. During the 2021 New Japan Cup, the two Brits squared off in the second round and they came out of the blocks zooming. We had phenomenal forearms and European clutches less than a minute in, and they never stopped this pace. Ospreay's 2021 was marred by injuries, and this match was no exception, as he was dealing with a shoulder problem and badly broke his nose midway through the match. It is a testament to the talent levels of these guys that they were able to put on one of the best matches of the year despite Ospreay's condition, but they've done this before and likely will do it again. Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi, New Japan Cup Final, 5.5 stars. William Billiam Trillium Ospreay's run to the top of New Japan Pro Wrestling went right through his greatest opponent, Shingo Takagi. The two had the Wrestling Observer Newsletter's Match of the Year in 2019 at the Best of the Super Juniors, and followed that performance with an excellent match in the 2020 G1 Climax before meeting here in the New Japan Cup Final. If they manage to eventually meet again in the G1 Climax Final, they will be the only men to meet in the finals of New Japan's 3 biggest tournaments. Ospreay and Takagi's matches have evolved with the performers as they've moved from being juniors to full-fledged heavyweights, sacrificing quickness for power, but the chemistry that they have together has never faltered. Ospreay and Takagi don't get brought up enough in the conversation of the best in-ring rivalries ever, but when the lowest rated match they've had is only 5 stars, their work speaks for itself. The Young Bucks versus Pac and Rey Fenix, AEW Dynamite, April 14th, 2021, 5 stars. You know what's really neat? How you can combine any of the members of Death Triangle and have one of the best tag teams in the world. Now that they're baby faces, maybe they could change their name to something a little less threatening, like Love Triangle. Although that might already be something that exists on a side of Tumblr I don't want to know about. Anywho, after Rey Fenix and Pac earned a tag title shot by winning the Tag Battle Royal at Revolution, they got their match against the Young Bucks on the April 14th episode of Dynamite. The Young Bucks had just turned heel 1 week earlier, and this match was their first title defense with this new dynamic. Being able to have great matches as baby faces and heels is a key reason why the Bucks title reign was able to be as great as it was, and you best believe this match was one of their best. Stellar high flying and all the chemistry that the Bucks usually have with the Lucha Brothers still existed here. This seems to have been lost in the shuffle of great Dynamite matches this year, but it is definitely worth a rewatch to remind yourself of the brilliance of these 4 men. Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi, Wrestling Dontaku Day 2. 6 stars. It's deja vu all over again. Shout out to Yogi Berra, still one of the best baseball names of all time. In fact, give me the Bear versus the Ospreay versus the Dragon. That would be 10 stars. Mark my words. The highest rated match of the year isn't the ideal place for me to completely lose the plot, but it's done now, so let's get this train back on track. With Will Ospreay defeating Kota Ibushi to become IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, his first defense was against rival Takagi at Wrestling Dontaku. What else can be said about these two men? Their chemistry is god tier, but this match still managed to surprise as they started out much slower than usual and let the match build organically, eventually peaking at the crescendo of this 45-minute masterpiece. This was the only 6-star match of the year, so I suppose in Big Dave's opinion this is as good as 2021 had to offer. Whether it is your match of the year or not, there is absolutely no question that every time these men get in the ring together, magic is sure to follow. Utami Hayashishita versus Syuri, Stardom Tokyo Dream Cinderella Special Edition, 5.5 stars. Oh yes, let's talk about this match. I want to talk about this match so much. For anyone who ever takes to the interwebs to talk about wanting to see more women's wrestling, I mean, good, keep it up because more is always better, but also make sure that you check out the best women's wrestling in the world taking place in Stardom. At the promotion's Tokyo Dream Cinderella event, Utami Hayashishita took on Syuri in an all-time classic. People, this match ends in a double knockout count-out schmoz, and it is still one of the best things I've ever seen. Think about how good a match match must be to reach such heights with a finish like that. After a brilliant battle, the time limit expired before a winner could be decided, only for the match to be restarted with the two women still unable to get the best of one another. Enough cannot be said about Utami, Hayashishita, and Syuri's matches in 2021, serving as not only a highlight of how great storytelling can be in women's wrestling, but all wrestling in general. Shingo Takagi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, Wrestle Grand Slam in Tokyo Dome. 5 stars. Now we've gotten back around to Shingo Takagi and Hiroshi Tanahashi. 2021 was a dire year for New Japan. The IWGP World Heavyweight title got off an incredibly bad foot, with Ibushi losing it in his first title defense, Ospreay relinquishing it due to injury, and then just as Shingo Takagi won the title, Ibushi had to drop out of their match at Wrestle Grand Slam. Add all this on top of Japan still being put through the ringer by COVID and injuries plaguing so many top stars all year, and I feel like New Japan was the crusty burglar, but instead of Homer beating it to death, 2021 just unloaded a Tommy gun on it. You find a way to edit that. I don't care that that footage doesn't exist. With everything possible going wrong, New Japan turned to its most reliable warrior in their time of need. The man who put the company on his back more times than anyone this century, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Tana stepped into the main event of a Tokyo Dome show with no notice and put on a performance like he was a man out of time. This could have been the Tanahashi of 2007 or 2013 or 2018, if only for his wisdom and experience taking precedence over his athleticism. This match was exactly what Takagi needed to get his title reign started properly, and Tanahashi only continued to solidify his position as New Japan's once-in-a-century talent. Ilja Dragunov versus Walter, NXT TakeOver 36, 5.25 stars. If you had told me that Ilja Dragunov and Walter would have been able to not only match, but top their incredible empty arena match from 2020, I probably would have said you were more lost than a loony in a Chesterfield, but boy did it ever happen at NXT TakeOver 36. For the TakeOver brand to be retired at all is a sad thing, but at least it went out with this match on the show. Walter is a perfect wrestler, and his NXT UK title reign is one of the best in modern WWE history. His dominance before and during this match was unparalleled, which is why Pete and I reacted like this when Dragunov got Walter to tap the out.
He's coming out! What? He tapped out Walter!
This is the only WWE match to feature on this list, and sure, go ahead and comment about anti-WWE bias and stuff, but if this is the only 5-star match the company has in 2021, boy, they made it a good one. God, I miss the old NXT. The Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers, AEW All Out, 5.75 stars. Of all the live experiences I've ever had watching wrestling, standing next to Sean Ross Sapp and hearing him say, "Oh, Jesus."
Oh, Jesus.
In his smoothest Kentucky bourbon voice as Rey Fenix jumped off of that cage is one I will carry with me forever. The Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers have a special kind of tag team chemistry rarely seen in modern wrestling. They are two teams that are made for each other, and after putting on one of the best ladder matches ever at All Out 2019, they said, "Yeah, we can do that with a cage too," and then proceeded to have the best cage match of all time at All Out 2021. I stand by that opinion. Show me a better one. From the thumbtack shoot to the parade of finishers to Phoenix's terrifying dive, and finally one of the craziest live reactions I've ever witnessed. This match was incredible fun and drama from start to finish. These two teams could make a real story out of having the best match of every stipulation type, because if anybody's gonna have a best on the pole match ever, I'd wager it's them. Shingo Takagi versus Tomohiro Ishii, G1 Climax 31, Night 1, 5.5 stars. Some wrestlers are just made for each other. There have been several examples of that on this list already. However, I don't know if there are two wrestlers that I love seeing wrestle more than Shingo Takagi and Tomohiro Ishii. Big, meaty men slapping meat. The G1 Climax had a number of fantastic matches, but only one of them reached the 5-star threshold, and it came on the first night of the tournament. Takagi and Ishii just understand the assignment when they step in the ring together. Matches like this feel real and gritty and ugly, and they just make me feel so good. One of these days, Ishii will get his day in the sun, but on this day, Takagi started his G1 Climax campaign off with a win. Christ on toast, I could watch these two wrestle every day of the week, but don't do that because they will kill each other, and murder is illegal and also no goddamn fun. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, 5 stars. The year is 2021, and the American Dragon Bryan Danielson had his first 5-star match. In his first match in AEW, no less. Does that mean that this one match was better than his entire decade-long run in WWE? I mean, you could say that. I won't, because I enjoy the sanity I get from being free from the burning white-hot hatred of angry wrestling fans, but it doesn't take anything away from this match one way or another. Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson are two more wrestlers with legitimate claims of being the best in the world. Putting them together in Bryan's first AEW match was bold, but ultimately set them up for a huge rematch at some point down the road. Not for the AEW title, just for the sake of competition. This match was an excellent display of pro wrestling mastery. There was a stark difference between how Bryan carried himself in this match and how he did in WWE. Here he moved as if he was feeling out his opponent, grappling with him and trying to win a sporting contest. If that sort of thing is more your bag than what WWE offers, then this match was a perfect reintroduction to just how good Bryan Danielson is. What a match! I'm gonna go watch it again. The Lucha Brothers vs El Hijo del Vikingo and Laredo Kid, AAA Heroes Immortalis 14. 5 stars. You ever walk around in Minecraft and see a rare occurrence? A super creeper maybe? Perhaps a pink sheep. That's kind of what it's like getting to talk about AAA on this channel. Doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you know it's special. At AAA's Heroes Immortalis 14 event, the Lucha Brothers put their tag titles on the line against El Hijo del Vikingo and Laredo Kid, two of the best luchadors in the game right now. Personally, I'm still waiting to see Vikingo signed to a bigger promotion, but that's just me. He's so damn good. Lucha Libre is not for everyone, but if flips and spots make you pop, this match is unlike anything else you will see all year. This is an incredible 16.5-minute tumbling routine that is smooth as butter and a perfect example of how good the best Lucha Libre in the world can be. If AEW wanted to pull some strings and put a rematch on Dynamite sometime, it could open a ton of people's eyes. The Super Click versus Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. AEW Full Gear, 5 stars. Hey, Christian Cage had a 5-star match in 2021. I certainly didn't have that on my 2021 bingo card, but I'll take it. This match might seem like an odd inclusion on this list, and it certainly is the most different, with the Young Bucks and Adam Cole taking on Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus in a big 6-man Falls Count Anywhere match. However, Uncle Dave often says that when he sees a match he considers to be the best of its kind, it gets that extra bump. The same happened in the Best Friends parking lot brawl with Santana and Ortiz last year, also receiving 5 stars. Meltzer said this was the best Falls Count Anywhere match he had ever seen, and who am I to argue that? The work of all 6 men was incredible, and it wasn't just spots either, with the key story beats of this match building off of what they'd been doing on TV leading up to this. This culminated with Jungle Boy leveling up while holding the Chair of Evolution and evolving into Jungle Man at the end of this match, hitting a concerto on Matt Jackson to win and complete his character arc with the biggest win of his career. Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega, AEW Full Gear, 5.5 stars. Well, this feels like a wonderful place to end. Please don't have any more 5-star matches for me to go back in and have to add to this list after it's written. Please, I beg you. If you haven't seen my breakdown of Hangman Page's AEW story here on PFK, we can't be friends until you do. Sorry, those are the rules. But if you have, you know how expertly AEW told this story, culminating in this match. With a near 3-year storyline behind them, anything less than a classic match would have probably been a bit underwhelming. But thankfully, Hangman Page's coronation as AEW World Champion couldn't have been any better. An excellent contest where Page finally stepped up to Omega and took everything he had to give before getting the vote of confidence from the Young Bucks as he beat his former partner was everything a blow-off match should be. If this was the last 5-star plus match of the year, 2021 couldn't have gone out any better. Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson. AEW Winter is coming. 5 stars. Audible sigh. While more work for Tempest is a tad annoying, I will never complain about having more great wrestling to watch on TV, and that is exactly what we got at Winter is Coming. Opening the show with a world title match might be a good indication that we are in for a long match, and that was certainly the case here as Bryan Danielson and the Wang Man went the distance, wrestling a 1-hour Broadway. Danielson has such a way of pacing his matches. His match with Omega didn't feel close to a half hour, and this match certainly did not feel like an hour. He is just able to make his matches fly by like no one else, and it is remarkable. Bryan has spoken about wanting to do an hour match for a long time, and in the first chance he got in AEW, he pulled out an absolute classic. You couldn't ask for a better match for Page's first title defense, and I genuinely cannot wait for them to run this one back. Okay, no more 5-star matches now, I mean it. And that's the list. Of course, remember that all-star ratings are subjective and not worth getting worked up about, but let us know what matches you think were 5-star matches this year that maybe didn't appear on this list. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more fun wrestling content like this, and remember that LIW is fine.